Welcome back. I'm Ian Masters, and this is Background Briefing, available 24/7 at backgroundbriefing.org. And joining us now is ጌታቸው በጋሻው, who was born and raised in Ethiopia and is the founder and president of Vision Ethiopia, a non-profit organization established to promote democracy and good governance in Ethiopia. Recently, Vision Ethiopia had successfully engaged the current government in Ethiopia and coordinated a productive dialogue, the first of its kind, between the Prime Minister and dissidents who live in the diaspora. In addition, he's held teaching and administrative positions in various academic institutions, including Baker College of Business, Michigan State University, and Harper College, where he's currently the chair and professor in the Department of Economics. Welcome to Background Briefing, ጌታቸው በጋሻው.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate for having me.
So, since you've been negotiating with the current government, what can you tell us? Because one of the problems is the news coverage from what's going on in Ethiopia is very, very hard to get a handle on what's really happening on the ground because the government's not letting in reporters, and they're certainly not even letting in aid workers. What we do know from Sudan, where there are 50,000 Ethiopians have crossed the northwestern border into Sudan, what we're hearing from them is horrendous tales of massacres and accusations that massacres are happening on both sides, both with the government perpetrating it and with the Tigrayan rebels, if that's the right word to describe them. So what can you tell us in terms of who's massacring who?
All right. Thank you for this question. Let me make some points clear from the outset. Currently, I am not negotiating, or our organization, Vision Ethiopia, is not negotiating with the government. That statement was intended for the beginning, or at the beginning of the Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, coming to power when he visited here in the United States. That was what was referred there. But Vision Ethiopia is a nonpartisan, independent organization of Ethiopian scholars and professionals. And so it's not pro or anti-government, but just independent group focusing on issues of Ethiopia, basically political, economic, and social problems. Now, having put that in perspective, Vision Ethiopia has taken or has issued a statement or communique on the current crisis, or what the government called it as law and order effort to keep law and order in the northern part of Ethiopia. And we get information, not official or direct from the news press, because independent observers or news agencies are not allowed, and that the internet is not effectively functioning. And many times when these kinds of crises or any kind of skirmish or just bad happenings are taking place in the country, the first casualty will be the news, because the internet will be disconnected or will be cut, and you can't get really independent news and information, accepting what you get from the government. Now, that being the case, the current one is a little bit beyond what the government could control in terms of the flows of information. In that, the entire northern region, especially people in Gondar and Tigray, are very close to the situation. They observe and they communicate with their relatives, and we get information through informal means. But generally, the war, if you call it the war, or campaign of maintaining law and order in that region, was triggered by what the TPLF, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and its government in Tigray initiated. The TPLF, or the government in Tigray, or the local government in Tigray, attacked the northern division of the army, or the northern command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, where they killed in thousands and 2 capture or to take over the armaments, heavily placed or accumulated armaments in that area. And that is just like one National Guard here in the United States, a National Guard of a state, invading the military base of the National Army. And so the government reacted to this, and that has caused lots of casualties. But the sad part is the TPLF, when they were driven out of what they called the Western Tigray, which actually is not Western Tigray, but part of Gondar or part of the Amhara region, that is Humara, Walkai, Salam, and Sagede. While fleeing, they massacred a whole lot of Amhara in the Walkai Humara region, especially at Maikadra. That is in excess of 800 that they killed. But now they turn around and they say the Ethiopian government massacred Tigrayans. That is absolutely a lie, because now those who fled to Sudan are telling us, and we know people who live there are communicating with their kins here in the diaspora. Those who were killed are of Amhara ethnic group, not Tigrayans. Tigrayans who have been casualties in this occasion might be actually the military and militia of the TPLF, not the residents of this area. And so the TPLF, has been well prepared for such kind of misinformation, deliberate distortions of events, and just to get international sympathy and possibly to internationalize the war. They are creating these kinds of stories where they are the victims, whereas actually the actual victimizers were the TPLF in this particular condition. It's unfortunate that lives would have been lost, but that was caused by the TPLF, thanks to the Amhara special forces, the Amhara militias, and the Amhara peasants and residents in the area, and the national defense. Together, they have driven them out of that region, and now they have totally captured or occupied Tigray, and I think now they are on the process of normalizing the situation there.
Well, apparently the Tigray leaders have dominated Ethiopia's ruling government for some time, but the new Prime Minister Abiy sidelined them when he came to power in 2018, and there have been long-standing tensions over land in western Tigray, where Maikadra is located, and that's the site of the massacres that you're talking about, between the Tigrayans and the Amhara, which is the second largest ethnic group in Ethiopia. But refugees are reporting that members of Fano, a youth militia loyal to the government, have rampaged through Maikadra, killing ethnic Tigrayans. So is this entirely a lie? I mean, it seems to me that this is a situation where both sides are going to lose and the country is going to lose.
I agree with you on this statement. Whenever a war takes place, whenever there are these military clashes are there are people who die, especially the innocent, and the poor people are the ones who die and who will carry the brunt of such actions. Going back to the beginning of your statement, when the government of Dr. Abiy sidelined the TPLF, that was, as a matter of fact, a kind of a relief for the entire nation, for the entire Ethiopia. It's not sidelining them, but actually saving the situation, saving Ethiopia from total destruction, because the depth and the magnitude of people's resistance against the rule of the TPLF, when they have dominated the 27 years, was so immense that the country was almost on the brink of disintegration. Had the situation continued with the TPLF's suppression of the Oromos and the Amaras and all other ethnic groups were to continue, Ethiopia would have been falling apart into all its constituent parts. The coming of Dr. Abiy was actually a kind of a savior for the nation at that time. And it was also a very nice, good exit for the TPLF to leave power and to live peacefully in the future. It's unfortunate that the TPLF did not realize this, but they just told or they think of it as if they have lost power, which they deserve for eternity, being the minority, being only the 6% of the entire population dominating the whole economic, political, and social life of the country, as if that is their natural right, they got angry. And ever since the government of Dr. Abiy came to power, they were hell-bent on sabotaging to make the government ineffective, that its policies will never be implemented, and the government will not be able to make any decision on the region of Tigray, and that they were using all kind of social conflicts where they have been thinking, preparing, organizing, funding different fringe elements in all areas of the country and going up to act of genocide against the Amharas, against the Orthodox Christians of all other ethnic groups based on identity and belief. They were conducting genocide in the Oromia region, in the southern region, and in the Benishangul region. All these were creating real social problems where it is actually threatening the survival of even the government of Prime Minister Abiy. Now,
so let me ask you, though, just to sorry to interrupt, but the government itself, though, is conducting censorship, not allowing the press in, not allowing international aid. A UN convoy was shot up by the Ethiopian military, and the government warned the UN that it did not need a babysitter. And a member of the International Rescue Committee, and one of its staff members, was being killed at a camp in Tigray. So we started out with the 50,000 refugees now in Sudan. Sudan itself is not exactly a stable country. In addition, there are about 100,000 Eritrean refugees in Tigray itself. So when is these massacres going to stop? And it's so clear that nobody's going to win in this, and it's a poor country where people are being murdered and looted, etc. So when will this stop? Because this is outrageous, and it's hard for me, without knowing the details, to take any sides in this. It seems like it's really a tragedy all around.
Yes. Yeah, I fully understand from where you are coming. I fully understand your concerns. And I myself, I am very anxious when this is going to stop, but now I am certain, or let me say I'm hopeful rather, that this will stop soon, or it has already stopped, because on the ground, the military success of the government, the National Defense Force and the Amhara Special Forces and the militias have been real. No more TPLF government in Tigray, no more TPLF Defense Force, no more TPLF Special Forces are there. Simply, they are on hot pursuit of the leaders, from whom we don't hear. I don't know where they are, even as a matter of fact, whether they are apprehended or captured. Now, with this event, the killings will stop. And I don't think the Ethiopian government will go just rampant to kill anybody they see. There is no military engagement now, and there is no reason for a single person to die at this point. Now, you raised one important thing, that this Red Cross or UN vehicle was shot up. But what is the fact behind that? There are checkpoints. They passed the checkpoint, disobeying to stop. they didn't honor or respect the rule. The first one they did. The second one also they did. They did not stop, but they zoomed through. And now, what should a government that has a respect for itself, a sovereign government, that cannot actually enforce a law that any vehicle, well, we don't know who are in there. As a matter of fact, the TPLF is good in that. They were just painting red cross or white cars, making it pass through the checkpoints for their perversive activities or intelligence purpose. And so the government shot at this vehicle on the third time or on the third checkpoint. That is very legitimate. Any government would do that. If you have a checkpoint, okay, the vehicles will have to stop, be checked, cleared, and go. If they refuse that, what? They are asking for force, and that's what they got. And so the government cannot be accused of transgressing any international law in this, but rather the drivers or the persons who were occupying that car or were in that vehicle are responsible for that. That being said, I really don't like that the government shuts out or blocks out news, information. It's not good. It's not good for transparency. It's not good for accountability. And I wish this is somehow be improved. I myself, as a responsible citizen of the world, I would like to get unbiased, true information. But the government is doing this for what it calls for its own security purposes and for just to do its things without much external intervention. Now, this is, by the way, an internal affairs of Ethiopia. There is no place for other foreign governments to get into this as long as the rule of the game is fully respected, as long as there is no blind, rampant massacre that is being conducted by the government. Rather, what we have witnessed at the beginning of the war is that the TPLF did this. The Maikadra event was purely the creation of the TPLF youth. And the attack on the Northern Division or command of the National Defense Force was the TPLF creation, their own initiative. And the national government will have to respond to such kind of aggression or transgression by a local government. The federal government, to keep the sovereignty and the independence of that country, has to take military action. And they have been, the government has tried several times to negotiate. They have sent even religious leaders to go to Tigray and really talk some sense to the TPLF leaders. But besides having rattling, the TPLF did not agree for a peaceful negotiation and settlement of outstanding conflict. And so in this kind of situation, it can't continue forever. But had this problem been contained in Tigray, that would have been okay. Not right, but okay, it can't tolerate. But this is overflowing into the other parts of the country. It's going into the Amhara region. It's going into the Afar region. It's going into the Oromia region. And it has made the country ungovernable. And so we predicted this would happen by transitions of the TPLF, but it happened. Now I think we would expect relative peace, and attention would be now diverted towards resolving the outstanding national problems in other regions.
Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but I thank you for joining us, ጌታቸው, በጋሻው, and hopefully we'll get more transparency and more information later on, since we are not really getting the full picture here. But I thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you very much, actually, for the opportunity.
And again, I've been speaking with ጌታቸው Bagaሻው, who was born and raised in Ethiopia. He's the founder and president of Vision Ethiopia, a non-profit organization established to promote democracy and good governance in Ethiopia. And recently, Vision Ethiopia successfully engaged the current government in Ethiopia and coordinated productive dialogue, the first of its kind between the Prime Minister and dissidents who live in the diaspora. And he has held teaching and administrative positions in various academic institutions, including Baker College of Business, Michigan State University, and Harper College, where he's currently the chair and professor in the Department of Economics. This has been Background Briefing. I'm Ian Masters. I'd like to thank producer Graham Fitzgibbon, and this program is available for podcasting at backgroundbriefing.org, where you can sign up for our email updates as well as subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you like this program, you can help us reach more listeners by taking a moment to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please do share the program with friends and family and colleagues on Twitter and Facebook. And to help us sustain our mission and spread the word to keep us corporate-free and commercial-free, we have added a donate button. So if you're in a position to give support, please take a moment to visit backgroundbriefing.org/donate, where your tax-deductible contributions will help us continue to build a reality-based community in post-truth America. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another Background Briefing. Bye for now.